Welcome everyone to the latest installment of the Schneider Downs Wealth Management Real Assets video. This is it's going to be an especially important episode, as you're going to see, is the passing of the torch of the Real Assets video to Sean McCann from myself. Really excited about what we're going to talk about today. Really excited for the future of this video series. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to the new host, my trusted colleague, Sean McCann.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Jason. So what I thought about what we could do for this episode, last episode, Megan and I talked about farmland, talked a little bit about timberland. So I thought what we could do is we could pivot and talk a little bit about infrastructure, another big theme within this real asset space. You were in Portugal, I think it was last year?
Yes, for my younger brother's wedding.
Yes, and then I was actually just in Norway and Denmark this past spring. So what I thought we could do is we could talk a little bit about what did we see on the infrastructure front with our own eyes, both abroad, and then kind of compare that back to home, and then maybe we'll talk a little about U.S. infrastructure. And
sure.
We'll wrap it up. You know, when I was in Norway, the biggest thing that I noticed, first of all, that was there were no potholes on the highway. Right, it's a little bit more updated, a little bit of a smoother ride. You come into Pittsburgh, there are commonly a lot of potholes that at least I'm driving over. You know, we were able to take advantage of almost every mode of transportation when we were in Norway, right? We flew in there, right? Aviation. We were able to take high-speed rail to Oslo. It feels a lot more updated. It feels a lot more modern. It seems like there's a lot more investment going on in that space. And when I was actually able to talk to some locals, they actually take a lot of great pride in their infrastructure. And what I was wondering was, Jason, when you were in Portugal and you were abroad, is that what you saw over there as well, or what was your experience like?
Yeah, and I think I'll say the first experience. So we flew on a red eye from Pittsburgh to Heathrow, and I would say that the experience in Lisbon's airport was better than in Heathrow's, and maybe that's because we didn't have to go through customs, and but I just felt like Lisbon's airport is actually run by a publicly traded company called Vinci. It's a French company, trades on the Paris Stock Exchange. And it's a privately run airport, and it felt that way. It was easy to get around. They had, if you spoke English, you went here. If you spoke Mandarin, you went there. If you spoke, they kind of had ways to kind of get you around it. I felt immediately at ease. My daughters, who at the time were 8 and 5, felt at ease. It was very easy to get along. And my wife, who God bless her, she has to deal with all of us, and all the bags and everything, like that was an easy process. So I think from an efficiency standpoint, the Lisbon airport was run incredibly well. Potholes, a lot of that is kind of cobblestone, very narrow streets. You're walking a lot. Yeah, the sidewalks were great.
Yeah, there was a lot of similarities, I think, to Portugal. You mentioned how clean the cities were, the streets were. I 100% saw that in Oslo. The interesting thing about Oslo was something that I learned about the transportation there was, in order to avoid the pollution that usually comes with all the cars in the cities, Oslo actually has built a tunnel underneath the city so that way cars don't drive through the city. And they make parking really expensive. They actually change the road plans every couple of weeks to kind of further complicate the driving situation. They really discourage cars within. Also in Denmark, I think the stereotypical or famous thing about Denmark, or what do you think about when you think about Copenhagen, is bikes. I saw a ton of bikes whenever I was in Copenhagen. In fact, right, you think of a normal road, you've got your right-hand lane, at least here in the States, you've got your traffic lights, everything is kind of set up for cars. In Copenhagen, they do the exact same thing for bike lanes.
You can see that they're ahead of us there, whether it's, you talk about high-speed rail. Go look at the state of California. They've been given billions and billions of dollars. I don't think there's any high-speed rail to think of.
Not that I can think of.
Sacramento to San Diego didn't happen. San Francisco to San Diego didn't happen.
For kind of bringing it back home. So it sounds like you had a really good experience in Lisbon. If you had to give a grade to the Portugal airport, the Lisbon airport, what would you give that?
A-.
A-. There was a report that came out for 2025 from the American Society of Civil Engineers.
Okay.
And what grade do you think they gave America's infrastructure?
C-.
C. It was C-, and they actually recently got upgraded to C. So kudos to you.
How about that?
On being pretty close there. It actually, at one point, was a D-, which is kind of a gray mark on our scorecard.
Not great.
we think about what are the needs for infrastructure within America over the next decade or so. And according to the American Society of Civil Engineering, it's about $3.6 trillion. And the most recent legislation, I think it was the Infrastructure and Jobs Act in 2021, gave us about $580 billion, which is a good starting point, but that actually expires in 2026. What do you think is the opportunity set for private capital, I would say?
Well, I think I'll just use an example, so the U.S. Open's here at Oakmont. You have to, if you're coming from where I live, you got to go through Fort Pitt Tunnel. You're going to go across the Fort Duquesne Bridge. You're going to drive down an interstate highway to the Holton Bridge. Then you're going to cross some train tracks.
So a little bit of everything.
So a little bit of everything. And I think we certainly, we need to upgrade a little bit of everything. I think that as we try to become the innovation leader in AI, our electrical grid needs to get upgraded.
Yep.
Think about what's going on in Texas. It's like that grid's not good enough, and a lot of the jobs are moving there. Clearly we have infrastructure that's failing, whether it's potholes, whether it's delays at airports, whether it's the Newark air traffic control situation, which is that airport's not getting an A- anyone. I think that there's so many examples of it, and the reality is we are working from a position of weakness because of our national debt and our deficit spending. The value of the dollar is declining, so the purchasing power declines, right? So I look at that and I say, that's a wonderful opportunity for private capital. Be a solution to that, and much in the way that it is internationally, which is a lot of public-private partnerships, some private-only partnerships that have revenue stream that goes back to the government. To me, that is the opportunity.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. And I think as we've kind of spoke about and as we've seen, there's a lot of different engineering priorities between the United States and Europe, both have their strengths, but both that face their challenges. And in either way, there's going to be a funding gap, both at home and abroad, and that's where private capital steps in, which I think offers an opportunity set for both our clients and investors all over the world. And I think that's where we're going to leave it at for today's episode of Hard Hats, Shovels, and Lunch Pails. Jason, thank you for joining me on my first episode at the helm, and I look forward to having you on another episode.
Yeah, the show's in great hands. I look forward to seeing where you take it, and I don't think that we're going to have anything. We will not have a lack of topics to talk about, so I look forward to watching, and all you guys should like and subscribe and watch and see where Sean takes it. So thank you.
Thank you
for having me.